All right. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the buy, borrow, and die strategy, which is a strategy that people with a lot of assets, rich people, use to kind of like preserve wealth and also transfer money from generation to generation so as to avoid taxes or to reduce their tax liability. So we're going to dive straight into it. Hopefully this is not too long. I'm going to create another video going more in depth into this strategy at a later date. Okay, so buy, borrow, and die. So essentially, it's a simple strategy, right? The idea being when you buy an asset, an income generating asset, an appreciating asset. So it could be stock, it could be business, it could be some sort of art, right? So that's why sometimes when you find rich people paying millions and millions of dollars for art, you typically wonder like, wow, why is this person paying $10 million, $50 million on a piece of art that looks like this, right? It is because oftentimes there are some financial strategies that they could use, some financial engineering that they could use in the event that they want cash to get some cash out without having to sell that asset. Now, what you want to buy are income generating assets such as real estate, private businesses, stocks and securities, stocks and securities and art or collectibles. The reason why you want it to be income generating is, I will talk a little bit more about that once we get to borrow, because you want something that is income generated so that you can use some of the income to pay off, to service the loans. So what typically happens is when these folks need money, they need cash or liquidity, instead of selling, whether they are real estate or private businesses, what they're going to do is they're going to use these assets as collateral, right? They're going to use as collateral to borrow money. It could be securities-based lending. It could be home equity line of credit. It could be some other line of credit, some other kind of business credit, or some sort of art-backed loans, right? Generally, the idea is you want to use these assets as collateral to borrow money, to borrow money, to get some liquidity, to have cash, to do whatever you want to do. Oftentimes, what they're actually trying to do is to buy more assets, right? To maybe buy a new business or to finance a capital project or something to that effect. And that's why they are doing this. Now, what they do is rather than sell the assets, as I said, they borrow money using the assets as collateral. It could be security-based lending, which in an instance, if you have a basket of stocks or whatever, you can use that as, your portfolio as collateral for the lending, usually maybe 50%, 70%, 90%. And then they give you loans, the bank will extend loans to you. And then the art-backed loans, again, a piece of art, there's some valuation, they extend some sort of loan to you, and it is held as collateral for the liquidity that the bank provides. Now, the idea behind it, as I said, is you want to keep this, you want to make sure that you don't sell this asset. Now, there are two reasons why you don't sell the asset. One is because you don't want to pay taxes on it, because once you sell the asset, you're going to have to pay tax on the gains that you have on the assets. Now, and then this is where die comes in, right? What you want to do is, unfortunately, this is, it doesn't matter how much money you have, at some point you're going to die. But once you die, your assets transfer to your heirs, your children, your family, whoever the case may be, transfer to them at death. But what happens is, the beautiful that happens, with respect to the tax code, and this is generally what I talk about on this channel, right? That the tax code is there to benefit many people if you know what you're doing. It benefits a lot of rich people. It benefits, people that don't have money as well. But the difference is the rich people have a lot of folks that are working specifically for them to try and take advantage of the tax code. But once you die, what happens is when the asset transfers to you, there's something called a step-up cost basis to the market value of the assets. So what that means is there's no capital gains because of that transfer, right? I hope you follow me. There is no capital gain. So if the heirs sell their assets at that point, they're going to be selling. They're not going to have to pay any taxes for it. So let me give you a concrete example. Let's assume you bought an asset. It could be like a home or something for $10,000, right? You bought it for $10,000. Now, if it appreciates to $15,000, you have $5,000 on top of it. The $5,000 is taxable depending on when you sell and other types of deductions or whatever that you can make. But that 5K is taxable. But in this particular instance, right, if the asset was $10,000 and it has the fair market value, right, of that asset is $15,000, when you die and this goes to your family, they don't pay that $5,000 because they get a step up from the basis of $10,000 to $15,000. So when that asset transfers, the new basis is the 15 grand. So if they decide to sell at that point, let's say you die today and they put the asset on the market tomorrow, that fair market value of 15 grand is essentially what they're going to be able to sell it at, and without having to pay taxes on it. Now, they can decide to hold it as well, because if it is a business that is actually generating a lot of cash, if it is, for instance, like a cash cow, business generating a lot of cash, typically the family might decide that, you know what, we're going to hold this business. It's a good business to hold in our family, and then they pass it down like that. Well, this is what the buy, borrow, and die strategy entails. So I'm going to, have more detailed explanations of these strategies in another video. But if you have any comments, if you have any thoughts, write them below. Until next video, peace.